So I know that by now you would like to have your first machine learning project or deep learning project or artificial intelligence project. So in short, you would like to implement all the concepts, all the theories that you've learned in your study of data science. So I believe that you've learned a lot of concepts when it comes to mathematics and even when it comes to the domain that you are in. And I believe that you have already have some experience with respect to a certain field that you would like to focus on. And I also believe that you have already watched a lot of video tutorials about data science that have really added up to that kind of knowledge and concepts and skills pertaining to data science. And now your problem is this: how are you going to connect all of these theories, all of these applications, all of these tools into one in such a way that you can come up with a very practical, a very motivating, and a very inspirational kind of data science project? But of course, your problem is this: how are you going to start? I think this kind of question is very much popular for those persons who really would like to start their data science project. And it's not actually easy, especially if you are just starting up. It's because you don't know how to do it. You don't know what would be the first step. And so this is the kind of thing that we are going to talk about this time. I am speaking from my experience. I'm speaking from all the things that I have learned from scratch. And again, for your information, I have started from zero because my field is actually very different from data science. So in short, I didn't have any mathematical background. I didn't have any programming background, which are really the foundation of machine learning, deep learning, or in short, data science. But this kind of experience, this kind of strategy that I have used to make my data science learning process very much faster is what I'm going to tell you so that I can help you also exponentially learn data science the best way possible. So before we continue, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button because I have new lessons for you guys. I have deeper insights about machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, data science tips, and more lessons that really could help you exponentially learn data science the best way possible. So what I'm going to tell you is the things that I have done for me to make my data science learning very much fast. And the way I did it is just for applying my theories, applying all those concepts, all these mathematical concepts and theories that I have learned through reading books, through watching videos, through reading different literatures. But the most practical, the most useful, and the most effective way of doing all of these things is to really make your own data science project. But then, before you make your data science project, the best way to do that is first to read a data science research paper that is very much related to the subject matter that you would like to research on. And why do we have to study first these research papers? Doing this can actually help you a lot, not only in learning more the different details, the intricate details of the different algorithms, the different coding, the different concepts and theories of data science. This helps you to look at data science in the big picture as to how it is applied in the real world, using real data, using real application in the real world. So why do we have to first read data science research paper that is connected to the kind of subject matter that we would like to deal with, or we would like to have a certain project? So reading data science research paper would help us to understand the different ideas, the different approaches of other researchers around the globe who work on the same or similar subject matter that we have. And maybe you would like to ask me, why do we have to know their ideas? Why do we have to know their approaches? It's actually very important to know their approaches because we have to also identify what is this universally accepted standard and rules that govern our subject matter. But of course, mathematical concepts of data science are the same universally. It's the same wherever you go. The gradient descent that you study in the United States is the same gradient descent that we have here in the Philippines. It's also the same gradient descent concept when you are in India. It's also the same when you are in Africa, or even if you are in Brazil, even if you are in Mexico and any other part of the globe. Why is it that we really have to understand the different ideas and approaches of the different authors? So it has nothing to do with a certain algorithm, but it has something to do with how these authors, how these researchers formulated their problem. So when we say problem formulation, we have to understand the brief of their study, we have to understand the limitations of their study, and how their problem is formulated given the different limitations, given the situation of a certain case. Of course, what we have to think first is that we can never expect a certain problem, a certain project to be the same with ours, but we can just always expect it to be similar with ours. And this kind of similarity is very important for us to be able to understand how these surrounding circumstances of a certain author, of a certain researcher, help in formulating the problem. By reading these data science project papers, we would be able to understand and identify the experimental setup or the experiments conducted by these different researchers of these data science papers. And why do we have to understand and know their experimental setup? First and foremost, these would tell us about the data set, and understanding this data set is really very important for us to be able to how these authors, how these researchers divided the data set into three in conducting our experiment. So we have our training set, we have our validation set, and then we have our test set. So these authors, these researchers can help us identify their method of division of this data set and how and why they did this kind of division. And also, it's also very important for us to be able to understand why they use this kind of validation method. So for example, this kind of author used k-fold validation, and this kind of author used a different one. So with this, we would be able to understand why each one of them used this particular method. So with this, we would be able to understand the different reasons, the rationale behind it. And in application to our project in the future, we would be able to also have a deeper insights as to which one would be the most applicable method for dividing our data set. And also having these data sets, having all these tests conducted, having these validation sets, then these results will help us to identify the kind of metrics to use. So when I say metrics, it has something to do with evaluation metrics. And this kind of evaluation metrics is actually dependent on what kind of area of your study. So for example, when it comes to marketing cases, the marketing metrics could be the customer engagement, then we have the conversion rate, we can also have the customer retention, and also we could have the marketing spend per customer. So based on the evaluation metrics used by the author or researcher, we would be able to also identify what kind of metric, what kind of evaluation metric that we can use in our study to evaluate our results. So with the presentation of the experiment setup of the author, we would be able to understand and identify how encouraging the result would be by reading the presentation of the author. So with this, we would be able to feel that he is really very convincing in his idea, that his idea is really very amazing using these different metrics. And with that kind of experiment conducted and showing that the benchmark of a certain study is overcome, then we can say that his idea is indeed really very amazing. And so because of this kind of idea, we can be guided how to perform, how to design, how to create our own study. So in short, we are given an idea, an insight as to what kind of baseline model that we can use that is available for us to also test against. And also, it's not just about the presentation of the experiment setup, the experiment design, but also we determine if a certain model or network or idea mentioned in the paper is really very efficient. And then again, speaking of the efficiency of a certain model, we have to go back to the evaluation metrics that we have already mentioned. So once again, this kind of evaluation metrics is not the same for all of us, but it would depend on what kind of area of study that we are focusing on. So I have already mentioned about marketing metrics. So as what I've said, we have the customer retention, the marketing spend per customer. We also have the customer engagement and many more. So in your area of study, you can also identify what kind of metric that you can use to evaluate your results. So evaluating our results is very important for us to be able to also determine and identify how good a certain idea is. So with these research papers, we can draw our inspirations from to help us build our own model. So with this, it's actually really very important for us to read the different data science projects, especially if we are just starting out with our data science projects, for us to be able to be inspired and to draw the different insights that we can use in building our own. If you want to know more about this channel, please click the card on your right screen because we have a lot of things for you. You can have mastering machine learning algorithm, the deep learning mathematics, data science tips, and also we are teaching you how to make your own data science projects.